When a midfield is this dominant, you don't change it, right? But with Newcastle chasing a new striker this summer, Eddie Howe is facing a dilemma. Does he have to break up the most dominant midfield in the Premier League to take Newcastle to the next level? I'll be analysing the traits that make each midfielder so valuable to Newcastle, why Tonali, Bruno and Joelinton blend so well together, and the brave question that fans have been asking recently: do Newcastle need to drop one of their star midfielders to improve tactically? And to answer this question, we have to break down what makes each of these midfielders so unique. And we'll start with Sandro Tonali. Everybody talks about his technical quality first, but if you don't watch Newcastle week in, week out, you're really missing what truly makes him special. Tonali is one of the best defensive number sixes in the Premier League, and his timing of the tackle is so elite. But it's not just that. His ability to intercept the ball, and something that doesn't show up in the stats, is his ability to read the passing triggers, cut off those options in between the midfield and defensive line, and that ability to recover on transitions and delay counter-attacks. This is a situation from the EFL Cup final. Newcastle put a cross into the box, it's headed out, and there's a second ball on the edge of the box between Bruno Guimarães and McAllister. Tonali has moved up to help with the counter press, keep the distances between the midfield and the attacking line quite short, and try and get that ball back as soon as possible. But in this situation, McAllister wins the ball and heads it over to Tonali and Szoboszlai. But what happens here is so impressive. Szoboszlai wins that first ball, and look at the amount of space he has to exploit in front of him. But Tonali's pace, recovery in transitions, that ability to delay a counter-attack is so good. He gets back goal side, delays Szoboszlai, and it allows Newcastle to get back into their midfield unit. And his ability to read the passing triggers and intercept the ball is also so impressive. You can see from the Arsenal game, his main role here is to press up against Odegaard, prevent Odegaard receiving the ball. But you can see Saka is so free in that right wing position. As Saliba is about to pass this ball, you can see Tonali already on his way, trying to get to that passing line, and he's read the passing triggers so well. Because what could happen here is Saliba playing into Odegaard and then they're through the middle of the pitch, but he waits to the right moment, moves into that line and intercepts the ball. And that's just a fragment of what he's done this season. So good at intercepting the ball, reading play, and it doesn't always lead to an interception. Sometimes he just reads the play and prevents a passing opportunity forward, and that doesn't show up in the stats. But what does show up in the stats is his ability to tackle and his ability to get into the box and score goals. And he did both in the game against Chelsea at home this season. You can see that Chalobah on the ball passes his ball into Lavia's feet, and already Tonali's on him. From that deep number 6 position, reading play, getting that distance so short between him and Lavia, and that ability to tackle once he arrives, catching Lavia unaware. He plays the ball to Bruno, who plays it out wide, but he's not happy with his work. Spots that gap in between Caicedo, who's playing in an unorthodox right-back role, and Chalobah. Beautiful cross from Jacob Murphy, and he puts it into that bottom left-hand corner from the cross. His awareness in and around the box is so good. So many goals he's scored, just making those late arrivals into the box, like the Brentford game, like the early goal he scored at Aston Villa in his first season. And after scoring 2 goals in the EFL Cup against Brentford, Eddie Howe praised Tonali, saying he had one of the best ball striking techniques that he'd ever seen. And if you look at one of his goals against Brentford, the ball skips out to him. You have to go back and watch it, watch the highlights, skipping out to him, spinning, fast bounce on the ball, and he just strides onto this. Beautiful little technique, cutting through the ball, driving it low and hard into that bottom right hand corner. And he has this ability to strike from the edge of the box and also arrive into the box and score goals. He's so comfortable now in that number 6 role, moving away from that right side in number 8. And the man that took over that role was Bruno Guimarães. Since Bruno Guimarães joined, Newcastle haven't won a league game in his absence. And if you look at the FBref radar, comparing him not only against centre midfielders, but ones that play in that advanced playmaker role a bit further forward, you can see he's so elite in these attacking metrics. Shot creating actions, goal creating actions, his assists, expected assists. But it's that bottom half that I love. His risk-taking ability is so good. He doesn't hesitate in playing those through balls, his key passes, passing into the penalty areas, progressive passes. He has a technique and that vision to execute what he sees. And if you remember Alexander Isak's goal in that 3-3 draw against Liverpool at home, it all starts from Bruno Guimarães. As Fabian Schär plays the ball into his feet, it's that risk-taking ability. If he loses the ball there against McAllister, look what Liverpool have. They have those 4 attackers plus McAllister able to break against Newcastle's back line. But this is what Bruno Guimarães does when he drops a little bit deeper into that number 6. That 1v1 ability to move that ball away from McAllister, just shrug him off and find that 2 or 3 yards of space. And then that ability to get his head up. Doesn't even hesitate at all. Sees Isak on the shoulder of Van Dijk, plays that ball into his feet, just threads it beautifully into his path. And then Alexander Isak does the rest, firing it into that top right hand corner. But it's that risk-taking ability that's so unique to Bruno Guimarães. And for players like this, they usually don't like the defensive side of the game. But that is not Bruno Guimarães. He ran the most distance of any player in the Premier League last season, and his ability to win the ball is so underrated, but he's so good at timing a tackle. You can see the goalkeeper has the ball at his feet. Bruno Guimarães already reading the passing triggers. It's that curve in that run, cutting off the ball to the centre back, and that centre midfielder of Ipswich trying to drop to receive the ball. Bruno Guimarães already on his bike, gets up amongst him and tackles the ball, falls kindly to Isak, and he slots it away. And one thing I would love to see from Bruno Guimarães is replicating what he'd done a couple of seasons ago. In that 23-24 season, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 goal contributions in a season. He's never done that before in the Premier League, and he only got 5 goals and 6 assists last season. And I think now that he's been released further forward from that number 6 role, I would love him to do more of what he done against West Ham. That ability to get into the box, cross from Harvey Barnes, time that run to the back post and finish. You can tell he's got that technique when he's getting onto those first time finishes. And I think I would love to see more of that next season. Now, we all love Bruno, we all love Tonali, and we all love this next guy. And it's because he's so unique. And that's Joelinton, a striker turned centre midfielder. What we all love about Joelinton, that ability to fight, that determination. But what sometimes gets overlooked is his ability to be tactically flexible and his ability on the ball. We've seen him play everywhere, from centre midfield to left wing to the striker role, supporting striker role, all the way back to a left wing back in a back 5 system. But his biggest strengths are his defensive instincts, his tackling ability, and his physicality. And if you remember the EFL Cup final again, there was a big moment from that game that I think all Newcastle fans remember. Joelinton just on the counter-attack, tracking back, trying to get into position, but he spots Kwanzaa moving forward with the ball, and he just hounds him down like an animal. And you can see Kwanzaa on the ball, delays it, tries to beat him with a burst of pace again, and he actually does quite well to try and beat Joelinton, because not many players would even try this. But Joelinton just puts his body in between him, just shoves him to the ground, tries to turn and wins a free kick for the team, and it's just what he brings to the team. But let's not limit him to physicality. Those defensive instincts are so good from Joelinton. You can see in the EFL Cup final again, he's the deepest midfielder out of the 3, and Van Dijk is about to play a ball in behind Newcastle down that wide channel, and Diaz recognises what's about to happen as that ball is played in behind. You can see he starts to dart into the space, but what I love most about this from Joelinton is that he's actually man-marking Szoboszlai earlier on in this phase, and he decides to leave his man to deal with the bigger threat. And that's what I mean about defensive instincts. And as the ball is played from Jota into Diaz's path, Diaz thinks he has a free shot on goal, but Joelinton's there to make a vital block. And Eddie Howe has improved another element of Joelinton's game, and that's his ability on the ball. That ability to roam, link play, make passes in behind. And this game against Tottenham sums it up. You can see he receives the ball with his back to goal, and he just uses that physicality, that strength to brush Maddison aside, drop the shoulder and move it to the right hand side. As he drives forward with the ball, he spots Jacob Murphy making that run in behind. And it's a beautiful flat curved pass into Jacob Murphy's run. He makes that little pass into Isak and he taps it in. And that move all starts from a former striker in the deep number 6 position, picking up the ball with his back to goal. It's just insane the level of improvement Joelinton has had over the past few seasons under Eddie Howe, and long may it continue. Now, they all have their own individual, unique strengths, but what is it that makes this trio click so well together? And if we look at the heat map from last season for all 3 players, you can see where they're having their influence on the pitch. Joelinton in that left centre midfield role, being able to have that license to drift to that left hand side on the left wing, create a passing option, but also clear that centre midfield space and allow Bruno to drop into that double pivot. Tonali mostly in the centre of the pitch, but having that ability to move to the right side and the left hand side to help build play. That red zone, that ability to have more influence on the game, more touches on the ball, is a bit more limited compared to Joelinton and Bruno Guimarães. I think he can build on last season and dictate play a bit more, drop into those zones to help build play a bit better. And then there's Bruno Guimarães. And if you look at the zone in between the 2 boxes, he is everywhere. And that's what I like about this Newcastle team. Eddie Howe has given him the license to move further forward, but also drop into that double pivot alongside Sandro Tonali. And if we focus on Bruno Guimarães and that change that happened to put Tonali in the number 6 and move him further forward, you can see the differences from his heat map again. Before Tonali came in, he's dominating that central area of the pitch, helping to build out from the back. But as he's moved further forward, dominating that right-hand side, that zone of influence just in front of the box in that right half space is perfect for him. If he can then just add that goals to his game and have a full season in this role, I think he'll excel next season. We found the perfect midfield balance last season, but the uncomfortable question still remains. Should we risk changing it all to take Newcastle to the next level? Now, with all this talk of a striker coming in at Newcastle, the likes of João Pedro, Ekitike, everyone's been putting together their dream 11. And every single time I've seen this team, it always leaves out Joelinton. It looks sort of like this, with the backup striker or second striker playing in behind Alexander Isak, with Tonali and Bruno capable of playing in a double pivot in behind that second striker, Gordon and Elanga on the left wing and right wing. And it's something I can see happening. It is something I can see happening to help evolve the team, but I just cannot see Eddie Howe dropping Joelinton in this type of team. It needs balance. He loves that midfield three. And the one thing I can see happening is the likes of Gordon Barnes dropping out for Joelinton. And then they're playing a bit more of a drawn role, with the Ekitike, Pedro type player drifting out to the left wing, moving to that left-hand side and helping support, with Joelinton, Tonali and Bruno moving further into that centre midfield position, and Elanga playing higher up. More of that 4-3-3 again, and that ability for that second striker to move inside, with Joelinton moving to that left wing for balance. And that's what I can see happening, especially at the start of the season. I just cannot see Eddie Howe dropping Joelinton. But it's not just a new striker that can break up this midfield. There's something internal at the club that already happened last season that might cause a tweak in thinking from Eddie Howe. We have 3 top centre-backs already at the club, with a 4th potentially coming in the summer transfer window. So the question remains, would Eddie Howe use the 5-4-1 more often than he did last season? And the thing we have to remember with this formation is we never actually saw Eddie Howe use it from the start of the game when both Joelinton and Botman were both fit. Now this 5-4-1 is probably the biggest threat to Joelinton's starting position. The back 5 picks itself with Hall and Livramento in those wing-back positions, Gordon and Elanga in those wing positions, especially with Tonali and Bruno in the centre midfield positions, Isak ahead of them. Key starters for me in this 5-4-1, especially when you have 5 defenders. You need that front 4 of Tonali, Bruno, Elanga, Gordon, Isak to be as attacking as possible. The ones that can handle the ball, carry the ball forward, playing those inside forward roles in the half space, and also make runs in behind. And I think Joelinton probably doesn't quite fit in this formation. You can adjust it slightly. If Eddie Howe wants to, you can make it more of a 5-3-2. I think it still can work defensively and move it back into a 5-4-1, but that might work. Lewis Hall being able to move further forward and support play, probably play even higher up than he usually does, and maybe make runs in behind. Isak and Elanga playing closer together, Tino Livramento being able to move further forward, and then you let Bruno move further forward and create from that position as well. And that could work, because that back 3 is used to playing in a back 3, and that could work. And especially when they go off the ball and they lose the ball, you just drop it back into what it was. With that back 5 position, Isak up top, Elanga moves back in, Joelinton can play in a left midfield position quite comfortably, especially off the ball, and that could easily work. Both in and out of position, switching between the 2 systems of a 5-4-1 and a 5-3-2. It's just about whether he would want to do it. And that's why I think if they're all fit, Joelinton, Tonali and Bruno will continue that dominant partnership in the centre of midfield for Newcastle at the start of the season, and I think it'll be in a 4-3-3 system. I don't think Eddie Howe will change it, especially at the start of the season. He might tweak it as the season goes on. There is a pressing need for a Joelinton replacement, our ability to evolve over the next couple of seasons. I've seen Conor Gallagher's name linked. I think that'll be the type of profile we're looking for, that dogged ability with a bit more technical ability and ability to play left centre midfield and right centre midfield. But I think next season, what we haven't seen in previous seasons, especially in that Champions League season, is Joelinton, Bruno and Tonali playing together in the Champions League. Tonali was banned, Joelinton was injured early on in the season, and I think those 3 players against elite opposition will be our best chance of getting through to the next stages. Now I'm going to channel my inner Stephen Bartlett and say that 96.7% of you are still not subscribed. hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of this midfield partnership? Does it have to start next season, or should we be evolving it as the season progresses? And if you like the video, there's another one up here that you can enjoy straight after this. And I'll see you on the next episode of A Game of Two Halves.